Good morning. If you've never been exposed to the Bible and just cracked it, started to read from front to back, it wouldn't take you very long before you come on words that you've seen numbers of times, and you'd figure out that those words are important. There's something important, and one of the first words that you'd come to see as important is faith. Faith you'd read over and over again, and if you listed all the times that faith is there, and if you try to put your finger on the pulse of what it is, what faith does, what it's like, you wouldn't take long before you discovered that faith waits. Faith waits. This isn't commonly heard. It's inescapable. Nonetheless, to live by faith is to wait perseveringly. This is found in both sections of the Bible. In the Old Testament, before Christ, the New Testament, after Christ, fore and aft, the need to wait is still the thread that runs through the Bible. To turn the Bible into a magic wand to get what we want is to disregard the basic orientation of the Bible. And if you turn the Bible into that kind of book, what you're going to end up doing is distorting the message of the Bible. It leads to an unbiblical focus that you find in some places. Well-meaning people talk about anointing and seed faith, giving you the sense that you plant a seed and God will multiply it. And when you put your finger on the pulse of the Bible, does it happen? There's times, but more often than not, what you find is that faith waits. Faith waits. It doesn't enable you to get what you want. It enables you to wait to get what you want. What it says in the worship folder, Hebrews 10, verses 32 through 38. It says, remember those early days after you had received the light, when you stood your ground in a great contest in the face of suffering. Sometimes you were publicly exposed to insult and persecution. At other times you stood side by side with those who were so treated. You sympathized with those in prison and joyfully accepted the confiscation of your property because you knew that you yourselves had better and lasting possessions. So do not throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded. You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what he has promised. For in just a very little while, he who is coming will come and will not delay. But my righteous one will live by faith. New Year's Day, some time ago, I was reflecting over the previous year. That's what I'll do on New Year's. Go to some place, grab a cup of coffee. Coffee places open on New Year's Day. Write and think about the previous year. And in this year, I felt like God had thrown me under the bus the prior year. I felt like I was doing what he wanted me to do, and I felt like he kind of left me in the lurch. And I was looking through the Bible as I do. We do different things to try to connect with God. Different ones of us do different things. I write, and I find that I can think through a pen on a piece of paper. Give me a Bible, give me a journal, give me a cup of coffee, give me a window. Just leave me alone. And if you try to talk to me, I won't hear you anyways because I take my hearing aids out and it's very quiet no matter where I am. I'm writing. And what I'm writing is not very, in fact, if you look at that day, there's watermarks on that page. Places where the ink blurred and blotted. Thought about the previous year. Learned at some point that I could be real with him. And have taken advantage of that to be able to tell him what was on my heart. And did so. And then I read this verse, you need to persevere. Jeez, yeah, that decade, long time ago. Long time ago. And even now when I read, it's one of those things that sometimes you connect with him. You know, not all the time, but there's occasions. We connect with him in different ways. Some of us in nature. Some of us just give us a Bible and a cup of coffee and a window. Some of us a conversation. No matter how we connect with God, sometimes that connection is very strong, very memorable. I don't think I'll ever forget this. I forgot this verse was there. And I asked a question. It feels like you threw me under the bus. And it feels like he said it. You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what he has promised. He reminds, the verse reminds, and it reminded me, and it reminds the readers, the will of God involves the need for perseverance. You need to persevere so that when you've done the will of God, which tells us what about the will of God? The will of God involves perseverance. You need to persevere so that when you've done the will of God, you will receive what he has promised. Is perseverance part of the will of God? The answer is, yes it is. Yes it is. Faith waits. Faith waits. They need to be reminded because of the erosive influence of difficulties. And to the Hebrews to whom this is being written, it makes sense when we understand what happened to them. In the context, he says, remember those earlier days after you had received the light when you stood your ground in a great contest in the face of suffering. And this is kind of some of the things. Sometimes you were publicly exposed to insult and persecution. At other times you stood side by side with those who were so treated. So they look back on that. That happened early in their Christian life. It says, you sympathized with those in prison and joyfully accepted the confiscation of your property because you knew that you yourselves had better and lasting possessions. And in the beginning, it was easy to leverage faith for, you know what, it'll be okay. We can deal with this, can't we? In the beginning, that's the way they felt. We can do this. High five. We can do this. Until 1 year became 2, became 5, became 10, became 15. And as I've said before, if they lived in Jerusalem and were Jewish Christians at the time, there was not very long before they had to get out of Jerusalem. And when they did, they left their neighborhood and their livelihood. And now they're Jews living in a Christian world, in a Gentile world. And they're not really Jews and they're not Gentiles, they're half-breeds. And so what kind of job do they get? Which is okay. We can tough it out until little Samuel grows up. And when I was first decided to become a follower of Christ, little Samuel was 3, and now he's 18. And he's going to have to work in the same Gentile field that I will. And it's a little bit tougher to watch your kids be deprived of things. And the erosive influence of chronic difficulty and persecution. It says, don't throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded. You need to persevere so that when you've done the will of God, you will receive what he has promised. It says, for in just a very little while, he who is coming will come and will not delay, but my righteous one will live by faith. And so again, what we see when it talks about the righteous live by faith, what it means is that faith waits. Faith waits. And you have to endure difficulties that tend to be erosive. More challenging, again, when it's not just you, not just your decision, but when you see the impact of your decision on people around you. It's even tougher. It can be even tougher. The ability to wait is Christ-like, I think. Look what it says. We could join Jesus in the wilderness. He'd just been baptized. He'd gone through 18 years of understanding that his Father's house was a house of prayer, seeing it used in a way that God didn't want it to be used, and he has to bide his time. Jesus knew that things were happening that weren't good at age 12, and they still weren't good at age 13, age 14, age 15, age 16, age 20, age 22. It's very frustrating, isn't it, to see things happening and not to be able to do anything about it. And Jesus didn't get the green light. Age 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And he's baptized. And he gets the sense, now from the Father is the time for your mission. So he's baptized. Here's the voice. This is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased. And right after that, a sense of commission, he gets to go into the wilderness. That's what we read. And Jesus was led by the Spirit into the desert to be tempted by the devil. After fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. The tempter came to him and said, if you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread. Jesus answered, it is written, man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. Then the devil took him to the holy city and had him stand on the highest point of the temple. If you are the Son of God, he said, throw yourself down. For it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and they will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. Jesus answered him, it is also written, do not put the Lord your God to the test. Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. All this I will give you, he said, if you will bow down and worship me. Jesus said to him, away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only. Hunger is not patient or reasonable, is it? Hunger is not patient or reasonable. We want to get rid of hunger now. And some of you are saying, we do, Mike, so keep it going. Just keep it rolling, Mike. We got the pancakes, we got this, okay. But this is the target of the temptation, the elimination of hunger. Is hunger a bad thing? No, hunger's not a bad thing. It's a natural alarm system that there are needs that I have that are going to threaten me at some point. God, who created hunger? God did. There's nothing wrong with hunger. It's human to be hungry. And yet, what God would have us do, we have to learn to persevere because faith waits. And there's sometimes we get to be hungry, but there's no food anywhere. Like in the desert. You know what the Judean desert is like? It's barren hills. And so what you can see is that there's not much around. Jesus has been fasting for 40 days and he's hungry and he looks around and there's no pancakes, no sausages, no flapjacks, no Burger King. There's nothing. You can be hungry for food. You can be hungry for other things too, can't you? Companionship. Nowhere. Barren. You wonder where is it going to come from? Money. All kinds of things. Target of the temptation, they all have this in common. What we'll see, you know what all these temptations have in common? Relief. Now. That's what they all have in common. Let's look at them. If you're the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread. Eliminate the physical need. Right? That'll do it, right? I'm hungry. So, if I'm hungry, how can I get rid of the hunger? Satisfy the need. Meet the physical need. Eliminate the need. And that's what Satan says. Satisfy the need. Jesus says no. Because he's going to wait till the Father feeds him. Like the song. Wait. Okay? If you're the Son of God, he said, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and they will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. So if Satan can't get him on the physical need, what need does he get him on? The emotional need. Now here's the deal. If we have physical needs that are chronic, at some point we feel emotionally bruised. If we have to go without for a while, then we start to get the nagging sense, don't I matter? I mean, if you really valued me, wouldn't you provide for me? So if I have to endure chronic need, what do I start to feel? Not just physically hungry, but emotionally hungry. And what I'm looking for? I'm looking for proof that I matter to you. So that's what Satan goes after because it's common to doubt. And so what Satan does, I'll tell you what, Jesus, okay, let's lay the physical need aside. You probably want to know that God is here, don't you? I'll tell you what, throw yourself down. Angels will catch you. So eliminate the emotional need. So maybe that's not satisfy the need, that's silence a need. Because what the need is saying, he doesn't care about you, and so I'll test him. Make him prove that he cares about me. Jesus says, no, I'll stick with the need, stick with the hunger. So if you can't satisfy the need or silence it, sometimes you can submerge the need. Look what he says. Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain, showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. All this I'll give you, he said, if you will bow down and worship me. He couldn't get Jesus to leverage divine regard. So what he wanted to do, Jesus, okay, you've got this connection with God. Use your connection with God to eliminate the need. Use your connection with God to eliminate the need. So, faith doesn't need to wait. Faith can get it now. That's the temptation. Eliminate the need. Or if you can't eliminate it, submerge it. So if I can't get him to give me what I want, you know what that is? To live in the light of somebody's regard is glory. And so to have God looking down and smile is glory. And if you can't get it from there, where can you get it from? I can't get it here. I can get it here. Smile at me. Smile at me. Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. And you know what sometimes can happen? If I feel needy enough and I can get you to smile at me, you know what that does? It submerges my need. Submerges it. So I can eliminate it by satisfying silence or submerging. So he says, all the glory of the world, all the, not just the stuff in the world, I don't think that's what Satan's given him. It's all the glory of the world. And what he's saying, Jesus, I'm going to give you carte blanche in terms of being the most accepted person on the planet, because at this point, Jesus would walk around and they'd go, what? And he wasn't tremendously influential. He was influential, but he didn't have a lot of people that were, he wasn't a global figure. What Satan's saying, every face in the universe looking at you saying, and Jesus, I would submerge the need. And Jesus says, no. Jesus' faith did not allow him. You're going to get anything from this? This is the thing you might catch. Because it trips us up. Jesus' faith did not allow him to eliminate his need. It allowed him to endure it. Didn't allow him to eliminate the need, allowed him to endure it. God, give me what I need. And he doesn't. But he might give us the ability to endure it, but that's not what we think faith does. We don't think faith waits, faith gets. Faith gets. And sometimes he gives us what we need, but since we don't know the kind of stuff he gives, and he gives us the ability to endure, but we're waiting for the ability to eliminate. And so we say, God, I feel kind of troubled. Something's wrong, I still feel kind of troubled. So when are you going to help me not be troubled? I'm waiting. And you know what I'm doing now? I'm getting more troubled. That's the problem. Because now I'm thinking, well, don't you care about me either? I can't get it from her. I can't get it from him. I can't get it from them. You're supposed to be the one who, but I'm not alone, right? Isn't that what the song says? You are not alone. You are not alone. Prove it. Eliminate my need. Jesus' faith did not allow him to eliminate his hunger. It allowed him to endure it. It's critically important to understand that faith waits. It's also important to understand that emotions don't. Faith waits, emotions don't wait. What it says, the whole Israelite community set out from the desert of Sin, traveling from place to place as the Lord commanded. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. So they quarreled with Moses and said, give us water to drink. Moses replied, why do you quarrel with me? Why do you put the Lord to the test? But the people were thirsty for water there, and they grumbled against Moses. They said, why did you bring us out of Egypt to make us and our children and livestock die of thirst? A little bit of sarcasm there. Moses cried out to the Lord, what am I to do with these people? They are almost ready to stone me. He's not exaggerating. Faith waits, emotions don't. And when we get irritated and upset, we want relief now. Now. Emotions don't wait. Emotions demand relief now. We can't blame them, these people. They're in a life-threatening situation, but their reaction stands in stark contrast to Jesus. Jesus found a way to wait. How do you do that? When emotions are rising up within, they are unacceptable and uncontrollable. If you haven't felt them, you're dead. because you have them. Because you have hunger. You have thirst. And it might not be physical, but you have it. And those emotions demand to be satisfied. And if they're not, you're going to find someone to blame. How do I know that? I know that. You know what the word emotion stands for? It comes from Latin, e motere. Motere is motion. You know what emotions are? Things that put you into motion. Why do you do what you do? Because of emotions. Emotions. I don't like that. I'm going to change it. I like that. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to tolerate that. I can wait for it. What is all this based on? Emotions. If the emotion is there, I'm going to do something about it. Emotions move us to action. We want to do something with emotions. You know what? Over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about being real and being still and breathing freely. You know what I felt over the last couple of weeks, especially like, even in talking about it, like I'm walking through deep snow. There's something about thinking about frustrations. And you're telling me to think about my frustrated life, and you're giving me this blah, blah God talk about be still? The last thing I want to do is be still. I don't know if you feel that. Some of us, when we feel emotions, some of us dial it down. And some of us get tired automatically. Some of you might have been real tired over the last couple of weeks. On a Sunday morning, we're talking about frustration, and you're thinking, just. Some of you might have been angry or frustrated. You don't even know why. You know emotions? You do. When you bury emotions, you bury them alive. Emotions don't go away. When you bury them, you know what they do? They come out sideways, and you don't get to control them. That's why you don't want to blow up. What did we do? Oh, where did that come from? It came from a buried emotion. It's tough to think about frustrations, to touch them, and then to think of being still and breathing freely. That's the last thing I want to do. I want to throw something. Really. Or I just want to get away from me. That's what some of us do. Just get away. Some of us don't get away. We get in other people's face. Emotions catalyzed by frustrated desires demand immediate gratification. You know what emotions are? Like whining children. Whining children. Whining children. You're driving in a car, and you've got what kind of children in the back seat? Whining children. I'm hungry, or something like that. So there's a couple of things you can do. Okay, take the wheel. Come on, take the wheel. Give them control. They get to direct the car. Okay, now you happy? So you can do that with whining children. Or if you can't satisfy them, what else can you do? Okay, that's it. Open the back door. Out you go. Now you happy? That's right. You can silence them. Silence them. Or you can, another tack. Boy, little Andrew, I think he's getting a bad cold. Honey, where's the NyQuil? Good shot of NyQuil. Oh, I know, you've never done that. Yeah, I know. Yeah. No, he did sniffle. He did sniffle. So what are you doing? Submerge it. Medicate it. Medicate it. That's a way. You know what whining kids are like? Emotions. Whining kids are like emotions. Some of us feel something, we say, okay, that's it. Take the wheel, satisfy it. I'll do whatever I need to do to have this craving satisfied. Some of us, we don't satisfy the wish, we silence it. And we take it and we stuff it in this part of ourselves and we throw it out. Or we submerge it. All kinds of addictive way to submerge emotions. There's drugs, all kinds of stuff. Religion. Religion can be addictive. I loved worship today. Again, love the songs. Worship can be addictive, though, can it? If I have an uncomfortable emotion, rather than feel it, I want to get lost. Get lost in worship. Oh, boy, great. For a minute there, I was almost poor in spirit. Imagine how bad that would have been. Blessed are the poor in spirit. I almost got poor in spirit. God, thank God for the worship. You know what I mean? We just create, even religion can be addictive. We need a fix. Give me a fix. Give me a God fix. Satisfy, silence, or submerge emotion. There is another option. I'm going to show you this chart. Some of you are not going to like this chart. This is confusing. Let me give it a whirl. It begins with desires. Desires to have or to do. And here's the deal. You want to have what you want to have, and you want to get rid of what you don't want to have. Right? Hunger, stuff. It can be doing desires. You want to do what you don't want to. You want to do what you want to do, and you don't want to do what you don't want to do. Desires. Do you have desires? When desires are frustrated, we feel disregarded. You say, "I don't get this." There is a level. This is the truth, by the way, and this will help. Because when we have frustrated desires, we start to feel like we don't matter. Do you know why you want what you want so badly? Because it will make you feel valued if you get it. Have you ever wondered that? Why can't I just let it go? Why can't I just let that go? He made a comment. Why in the world do I have to stay up all night thinking about it? He just made a comment. And I can't shut it off. Why can't we shut it off? I got a decent car, and now that guy's got a way better car than me. Why do I have to notice stuff like that? I don't want to be resentful. It just comes natural. Maybe a spiritual gift. Oh, you've got the gift too. You know what the deal is with that? When we don't get what we want, we don't do what we want, we feel disregarded. That's true, you know. And this is a really hard feeling to feel. I mean, how good does it feel to imagine that you really don't matter enough for people to give you what you want? How's that feel? What's that emotion like? You know what that feels like? That feels like dying. And what we do when we feel that, I felt it the last couple of weeks. I just felt like going to sleep. Just zone out. I don't want to think about the fact that I don't matter. I want to think about my frustrations or get angry. But we don't want to be disregarded, so what we'll do is we will do things so that we don't have to feel disregarded. And what we do, we hide. We have a need. We have a want. No, we don't. No, I don't. See? It's gone. What? No, I'm fine. And we hide. Some of us don't hide, we hurl. And so it's not, I'm going to hide the need, it's, so I'll hurl blame. Yeah, it's right there. That's what the problem is. Hide, hurl, JC came up with another one, huddle. So what I'll do, I will have this need, and I'll try to find other people who have the need too, and what will we do? We'll huddle. And then you go, and you know what that does? It just kind of makes it feel less isolating, doesn't it? Feel less isolated. So we hide, hurl, and huddle. And those things don't work very well because those are control-based responses to a contact-based need. You got that? You know what regard is about? Contact. You know what these responses are? Control. Have you ever wondered why it just doesn't do the trick when you get what you want? You ever wondered that? I told you about a guy. I was watching him in Black Sheep Coffee. And he had a new camera. And he took it and he put it on the table. Right there. Took his coffee and sat back. And he started to unwrap it. And he wasn't fast like somebody. He just peeled the cellophane plastic back, all the little tie things, and then he took it out, and then he started to take pictures with it. And before 25 or 30 minutes, it started to be set aside. I watched him. I was sitting back here, and he was with his back to me, right there. And I could watch him from the back. And you could see the water level go down. You know what the problem is? These things right here, desires. What are we going to do with them? You can't silence them. Can't satisfy them. Can't submerge them. There is another option. You know what we need? We need to be regarded. At some point, we've got to be able to take all these needs and be able to bring them within the context, listen to me, where we feel like somebody cares about the fact that we have the need. Now, not necessarily that we get it meted, but we believe that someone says, I know you have the need, and I care about meeting it. That's a contact-based response, and how do you do that? You have to start by being real. You got to be real. What is it that you want and don't have? Don't make me think about that. I know what you mean. I don't want to think about it. It's frustrating, but you know what the problem is? Unless I do this, I'm going to do that. What's the solution to hide, hurl, and huddle? Control? No. Got to be real. And then, what am I going to say next? Be still. And have God, so you're holding this stuff, and we're not going to do it a bunch because it really is kind of frustrating. But God really is going to say to you, shh, I know. This guy with the camera. God, you know what the deal is? I've been waiting to open this camera for days now, and now that it's open, I don't want it as much. And I don't know if this guy was spiritual. If he was, he could say, you know what, God, I hate it when that happens. I don't like to have my gaze fixed on something and I don't even get to enjoy it for 20 minutes. I wonder what would happen if he had brought that to God. I hate that, and had God say, I don't know what his name was, but if he would have been able to look up and God said, I know. Shh. And here's the deal, guy at the table in black sheep. I am a good God and I'll accomplish my purposes, and part of my purposes are I will never leave you alone. I will never abandon you. I wonder what that would have done for that guy. You know what he might have been able, what might he have been able to do? Breathe freely. God, I'm glad you see me. I hate this. I don't like having something and then have it being drained of enjoyment. Thanks that you see me and you sympathize with me. And then I'm going to think about his commitments. You know what I'm going to do with his commitments? And you know what I'm going to do with my concerns? Exhale. And you say, Mike, I know. And again, I'm conscious that this is very challenging to do. Be still, be real, be still, breathe freely. It will work better than hide, hurl, and huddle. You don't have a bunch of options. It's going to be hard either way, really. Really. I'm not just blowing smoke. Emotions want to be satisfied now. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? If you do this, let me show you what happens. Be real, be still, breathe freely. You'll be able to wait perseveringly. And respond gently. If you want to get to this, do you? What would it be like to not get what you want and not try to tear your own throat out or somebody else's throat out? What would that feel like? To be able to wait perseveringly. Respond gently to yourself. What would it be like to not go after yourself with claws? What would that feel like? To not have to say those terrible things to yourself that you say to yourself. What would that be like? What would it be like to not be so caustic with people? Again, this is, he can help with this, you know. But you can't just think nice little God talk. You know what you got to do? You can't just superimpose, play the worship song again. Play it. Now. Starts with desires. You got to be real. Touch the things you don't want to touch. Find somebody that's safe to do it with. Do me a favor. Don't go, if you go to somebody and you say, you know what, I'm really kind of feeling screwed up. And if their first thing is, have you prayed about it, get out of there. Really. Really. Get out of there. Now, again, some people are going to say that, and it's okay, because they mean it. But if this person that's slapping a prayer bandage on it, go somewhere else where somebody will say to you, tell me about it. What's up? What's up? You know what I'm feeling? Oh, is that right? Yeah, I got that. I know. Oh, you know what we're doing now? You don't feel so alone. If they want to throw a prayer bandage on it, or if they want to throw a give $10 seed faith and God will give you $100 back, get out of there. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Hey, thanks for the discussion. You can soothe. You can soothe. And when you do the first 3 steps, you can do the last 2. And you can start to wait more. And again, can you do this? Okay, here's what some of you are thinking. Okay, but yeah. Mike, I'll do this as long as it can work now. Okay. I mean, I want to be able to do this. So what time is it? Okay, I don't know what time it is. I am getting hungry, Mike. And, you know, so as long as it can work in the next 5 minutes, I'll give it 5, maybe 6. God is not going to work fast with you. Things are slower than that. You have to breathe. But it starts with being real. Worship team, come on up. Be real. Be still. Breathe freely. When you do those things, and you do them, oh yeah, and here's the deal. I do have good news. There's only one time that you have to do this. Today. And guess what tomorrow is going to be? Today. And you know what you know what next year is going to be? Today. And you only have to do it today. That's it. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will care for itself. All you do is do this today, and it'll help you get through today and help you to live one day at a time. And you understand this about us, that we're not wired to handle frustration very well. We can't handle it alone. And it seems that that is the place where you meet us. But we're afraid to meet you there. We're afraid to be real. Some of us have been told that if we don't say nice things and the right things, that you're going to be angry with us. You're not angry at honesty, you're angry at hypocrisy. That's dangerous. You like us to be real. You understand it anyways. I guess I ask that you would help us slowly, because we develop habits of dealing with frustration that don't leave in a morning just because we listen to a message. It's wired in us, a system that we do very well, and to think of changing it is, I don't know, it almost seems too big. I'm just glad that you are more committed to teaching us how to come to you than we are to come. You're very patient with us. You don't need us to learn this yesterday. You just need us to listen to you. Not be afraid of what's real. To trust you enough to be real and to be still. And to breathe freely so that we can wait perseveringly and respond gently. And you have time. You're patient. Would you teach us this so that we might be able to become better at it and help others who need it as well? In Jesus' name. Amen. Hey, stick around for some flapjacks and